The following is a Sultan Light special presentation.
Hello and welcome. We are interrupting our regularly scheduled programming to bring you a historic moment. At 8 p.m. Rome time, the Swiss Guards, who are at Castel Gandolfo, will retreat into the palace and close the palace doors. This act will symbolize the official end of Pope Benedict's pontificate. We are looking now at live images coming to us from Castel Gandolfo, and we have Sebastian Gomes on the line, on the phone. Sebastian, can you tell us a little bit what this day has been like?
Well, first of all, it's been very long and tiring for many reasons. One of which is that we know that Father Tom Rosica, our CEO, has been appointed as the assistant spokesperson to Father Lombardi in the Holy See press office. So we've done about 20-25 interviews today with different English and French television networks and journalists from around the world. And then, of course, there was the powerful moments of Pope Benedict leaving Vatican City and making his way by helicopter to Castel Gandolfo. Very, very powerful, moving images there. So it's been a tiring day. It's been a somber day too. I think there's a certain sadness, obviously, saying goodbye to our spiritual leader, and everybody here feels it.
Yes. And we are looking at images of the Swiss Guards guarding the main entrance to Castel Gandolfo. Of course, the Swiss Guards have been guarding the pontiff, or the popes, for 500 years, and this is a completely new situation for them. Sebastian, earlier when we were watching the departure from Vatican City of Pope Benedict, I asked you about the mood on the ground and how the journalists and the reporters in the Vatican press corps were reacting, specifically because they've built their entire careers around covering the Vatican, and this is such an unprecedented moment. For those who perhaps didn't hear that earlier in the day, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. We've been stationed in the Holy See press office. We've been given special offices upstairs where the Vatican Information Service works. That's where all the official translations come out of different Vatican texts. And right below us, as you know, is basically the press hall where all the journalists and media can gather. They can, they work on their computers there. There's all kinds of magazines and journals all over the place. It's a madhouse at times. Today was a little bit different. We did have a press conference earlier in the day just to talk mainly about logistics for the actual trip from the Vatican to Castel Gandolfo, and then also the images that we're seeing now and this process of the gates closing. But amongst the journalists, especially what we call the Vaticanistas, as you know, the journalists whose job it is, some of them for many, many years, to cover what goes on in the Vatican and to cover the life of the Pope and talk about what the Pope is doing. These people are they're very sad, because this is something that they've given their life to, and they know that it's a time of transition, but I think everybody at some stage has been really touched by Pope Benedict if they've been around him long enough. I don't think it takes long to be touched by him and the way he carries himself and the kinds of things he says and shares with us. But there's no doubt that, all of them have very, very powerful stories about ways that their lives have been changed by the life and teaching of Pope Benedict.
Yes, and while I've got you on the line, I just want to take a moment and point out that on screen just a moment ago we were seeing the open doors to a chapel, a small church in the piazza in front of the entrance to the Papal Palace at Castel Gandolfo, and there are people inside kneeling before the Blessed Sacrament. And so many people around the world, across our country, are currently at this moment either in adoration or celebrating special Mass in honor of Pope Benedict and Thanksgiving for his papacy. I'm sure you're seeing some of that where you are at the Vatican, in Vatican City. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Sebastian?
Absolutely, and that's a reality that it's so important not to miss at this particular time. If the world wants to know what the Catholic Church is, look at it now and look at the people around the world gathered together in prayer. We know about the dioceses that are together at this moment, either planning to celebrate a Mass or praying quietly at this time. This has been a lesson that Pope Benedict has taught us, and we're united with him in this very act of prayer. We know that he's, has told us that he's going to dedicate his life to prayer for the Church and for the new Pope, and we're to take after that, I think. But especially now that the seat will be empty, and especially here in Rome, I have to tell you, I was just up on the rooftop overlooking St. Peter's Square, where some of the English media have set up their TV stands, and my heart dropped at one moment when I looked across the square and didn't see the lights on in the papal apartments. Every night you see them on. You see them on in his study, and then you see them on in his bedroom, and then you see them go off when he's sleeping there.
That's right. That's right. The iconic.
And to have them dark for the first time like this in a long time, knowing that he's not here, is very, very moving.
That's right. You touched on something, the iconic windows of the Papal Palace. I know I've walked underneath those windows many a time and looked up at those same lights, and it must be a surreal experience. We are about 2 minutes away from the beginning of Sede Vacante. We are about 2 minutes away from the moment where Pope Benedict XVI will cease to be the reigning pontiff. Quickly, Sebastian, can you tell us a little bit about what happens now? How does life change for Benedict? I know that many viewers perhaps are fascinated by the more temporal aspects of the things that will change. Will he still wear the white cassock? What other things might he wear or not wear? And most importantly, what are we going to call him?
Yeah, those have been a lot of the big questions, the so-called big questions around the press hall the last few days. He will be known as Pope Emeritus. He will give up his red shoes. He's chosen to go with the brown loafers that somebody gave him in Mexico. Those have been much more comfortable. But, his office will cease, which also means that many of the offices in the Vatican will be sort of put on hold. All the congregations are, the prefect's job, many of whom are cardinals, that they sort of put everything on hold and focus primarily on the general congregations, which are the meetings of the cardinals before the conclave and then the conclave itself.
Right, and we are 1 minute away from the beginning of Sede Vacante. One question, if this has been discussed, I don't know if this has already been discussed in the press briefings that you are holding and attending. One of the biggest symbols of the papacy is the fisherman's ring. Do we know what will happen to that?
We know that it will be, maybe I'll pause here so
yes.
that we can watch this.
The Gendarmerie, you've seen 3 men in blue suits. Gendarmerie, they are Vatican police, taking their places. The bells begin to toll the hour. And when the bells cease ringing, the Swiss guards stationed at the door will retreat, and the Gendarmerie will take over to signify that there is no Pope present at Castel Gandolfo. Let's listen in. guards hanging up their halberds and closing the palace doors. There is no Pope present at Castel Gandolfo. As of this moment, we are in Sede Vacante. We are without a Pope. And as of this moment, the Vatican gendarmes, the Vatican police, will take over security detail for Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. Sebastian, can I get your final thoughts as you watch this scene unfold?
Well, clearly an utterly historic moment, one that all of us watching will never forget. But also, in a sense, I feel like there's a strong presence of the Spirit and also of tradition. The real meaning of tradition is that you hand on something, you pass it on. And that's what Pope Benedict has done. And he knows deep in his heart that the Lord is with the Church, that the Lord is with us through all of this, and that he will triumph in the end.
Very appropriate words. And we see the Vatican Police, Vatican City Police, taking over security detail, as this is now just one of many other Vatican City palaces, and there happens to be a guest staying here. Sebastian, just before the Sede Vacante began, just before the doors were closed, you were giving us the details about what will happen to Benedict's fisherman's ring. Do we know when that will be broken?
We haven't been told exactly. We have been told that it will be done in private. Many of the questions at the press briefing today were about the ring itself. It will be defaced because the seal must be defaced in a way that it cannot be used again. The ring will be itself broken. A lot of the journalists were using this, powerful images of smashing the ring and the destruction of the ring. I don't think it's that graphic of an activity, but it will be done in private. We can be assured, we are assured from inside the Vatican that it will be done sometime in the next 2 days.
Okay. Very appropriate, of course. A lot of fixation on that because it is so symbolic of one papacy coming to an end as we await the beginning of another. Sebastian, I want to thank you for joining us, for being with us and talking us through this historic moment. Do enjoy the moments ahead.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Viva el Papa.
Viva el Papa. And for those of you who have been watching us, you have just witnessed a historic moment in the life of the Church. For the first time in 600 years, a living pope has stepped down from the papacy. We saw the Swiss guards retreat into Castel Gandolfo to signify that although Benedict XVI is inside the palace, there is no pope present at Castel Gandolfo. We are now in Sede Vacante, and we await the election of a new pope. Tomorrow, Cardinal Angelo Sodano will send out the official letter convoking the cardinals to come to Rome to begin the process of selecting the next successor of Peter. From everyone here at Salt and Light, thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. We will be bringing you updates, of course, on perspectives and on Vatican connections. And as soon as we know when the conclave will begin, we will let you know, and we will bring you full coverage of the beginning of the conclave and, of course, the moment when the College of Cardinals declares to the world, Habemus Papam. From everyone here, thank you for watching.